We were this close to doing a feel-good travel video today. Sunshine, waves, maybe a nice hike. But then
the Orange Dawn is back with tariff rants, sovereign threats, and movie mania.
He's reopening Alcatraz and is selling gala seats at his presidential buffet table to the highest bidders of his meme coin. And we thought posing as the Pope was weird. It's one thing after another with this guy. So we had to hit pause on Paradise.
And seriously, doesn't it make you a little nauseous that a reality TV relic with 6 bankruptcies, 3 wives, and 1 golden toilet is somehow still renting space in our brains?
How did this self-serving showman become president and then somehow in charge of screwing up the rest of the world?
He's got the codes and he has the ears of the richest men alive. So as much as we'd love to ignore the trade war champ, we can't.
Aren't you tired of it? Tired of the noise, the spin, the non-stop narcissism? We are. That's why we're launching this special Report Tuesday, when the news is too absurd to ignore.
Coming up, Canadian veterans make history in Holland. A certain golden toilet mogul wants to turn Alcatraz into a theme park prison, and Danielle Smith, apparently she thinks Mar-a-Lago is a business expense.
Let's go! So while 98-year-old Canadian veterans were flying to the Netherlands to be honored for liberating the country, Donald Trump was busy doing what he does best, turning America into a bad parody of democracy.
Let's recap the last few days in Presidential Power Trip Edition.
1. He wanted to rename Veterans Day to Victory Day, because apparently the US won World War I all by itself. 2. He's launched a news website to focus on Trump-friendly stories because, nothing says free speech like state talking points. And 3, he's reopening Alcatraz. Yes, the prison. Maybe as a hard-right movement-themed escape room or a holding cell for journalists.
And don't forget the pièce de résistance, his meme coin gala coming up on May 22nd. That's right, the man who bankrupted 6 companies, including a casino, which are literally designed so you can't lose, is now selling meme coins to fund his family and offering a dinner at the White House to the biggest spenders.
It's starting to feel like a presidential White House hustle, where the House always wins, and it's always his house.
Look, we get it. He never made real money until he became president. All it took was some shady deals, a few taxpayer grifts, and poof, suddenly he's up there with the richest men in the world.
And we're supposed to believe that he's doing this for the forgotten man? Where's the free healthcare, the infrastructure, retirement security? Nothing. We've just seen him get richer while Americans fall further behind.
He creates the fires, sells you the hose, and then charges you rent to use it.
And now he's got crypto bros bidding for a plate of rubber chicken at the White House while regular Americans can't afford eggs.
This isn't politics at all. It's a reality show. The Orange Apprentice, the Global Disruption Tour.
The grandstander-in-chief keeps saying the US is subsidizing Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year.
That number? Totally fake, kind of like his tan. There's no data, no report, no math behind it. It's one of his signature fabrications now sold as digital merch.
Here's what's real, though. Canada is America's largest export market. In 2024, trade between our two countries hit over $762 billion. That's $3.6 billion every single day. And if we really want to talk trade deficits, it's the US that would have a much bigger one if they weren't buying our oil at discount prices. A decision they made, not because they love Canada, but because it makes economic sense.
They'd never get their refining industry under control without our supply, and they won't at least for the next decade. Good luck fueling those refineries with slogans and sound bites. We're not freeloading, we're buying, we're selling, we're shipping you oil, gas, minerals, electricity, car parts, and the plot of every second show on Netflix.
The Orange Overlord's latest brainwave? Well, he's gonna put 100% tariffs on any movie not made in Hollywood. And guess who suggested it? His brand new Hollywood czar, Jon Voight.
Yes, that Jon Voight. The guy from Anaconda? He's America's new film whisperer.
And here's the part that'll really cook your popcorn. Nearly every Netflix series and film you love was filmed outside of the USA, mostly in Canada.
Toronto and Vancouver are Hollywood North. Nova Scotia, Alberta, and Newfoundland are full of production crews. And post-production? A lot of that happens in Montreal.
Half of the actors are British or Aussie pretending to be American, and the most American stories are filmed 2 blocks from Tim Hortons.
And who even goes to the theaters anymore? People stream right on their phones, tablets, TVs. What's next? Streaming fees based on where you watch?
The Hollywood Mr. Ratings Man is trying to save an industry that left years ago.
If he actually follows through, tariffs on Canadian films would mean higher costs for streamers, fewer options, and maybe the last gasp for Hollywood as we know it.
But sure, let's slap tariffs on the only industry that still makes America look cool globally.
Between the tariffs, the energy lies, the fake subsidies, and the meme coins, Captain Clickbait isn't making America great again. He's just making up problems and pretending to fix them. Let's talk about Danielle, Alberta's Premier, Canada is broken cheerleader. She's apparently also the star of the real premieres of Mar-a-Lago, because it was just uncovered that the trip that she took there in December, it cost Alberta taxpayers $10,000.
10 grand for a Florida vacation? Danielle, call us next time. We'll book you a Sunwing flight and save the province $9,000.
Why did she bring so many people? What business was actually done? And why do these trips always seem to benefit her more than the province? And right on cue, she doubled down. In her latest live stream, she said she's open to putting Alberta separation on the 2026 ballot if enough signatures come in.
Real leadership move. Throw a tantrum and threaten to quit the country because your guy didn't win.
She's framing it like it's democracy in action, but let's tell it like it is. They lowered the bar, literally. Her government introduced legislation to cut the required signatures in half, and they extended the deadline. It's a fast path to a national crisis.
And what's her justification? That Albertans are loyal patriots who've just had enough. Not fringe voices, just oil lobbyists in cowboy hats ready to secede because they're mad at a carbon tax.
Meanwhile, First Nation leaders across Treaties 6, 7, and 8 have issued a cease and desist because, guess what? Alberta can't override constitutional treaty rights, and the land she's trying to negotiate with, it isn't hers to bargain with.
But Smith insists it's non-negotiable that treaty rights will be upheld, while also flirting with referendums that directly challenge those rights. You can't say we respect the treaties and then ignore them on live TV.
She says she wants a sovereign Alberta within Canada. That's like saying you want a divorce but still want to live in the house, keep the kids, and keep the dog.
Because when you're in a political hole, the answer is always dig faster, dig deeper.
It's a classic move. Stir up fake outrage, spread disinfo, break institutions, blame Ottawa, and then cash the check. This isn't a political spin, it's a coordinated campaign backed by oil money and lobbyists with a vested interest in blowing up the system.
Charlie Angus put it best. This isn't about one election. The right-wing machine has been building for years, and now they're trying to sabotage the Carney government before it even gets off the ground.
It's not even subtle. Bot farms, troll accounts, fake memes, front groups, all pushing the same message. Canada is broken. Trust no one. Believe the worst. Blame the East.
Their dream? A divided Canada and a weakened democracy. And just as Danielle Smith floats separatism, who pops up in a freshly edited video? Pierre Poilievre, casually wandering through a golden field like Canada's crisis can be solved with wheat and vibes.
It's the same old strategy. Soften the rhetoric when the backlash hits, pretend to listen, rebrand the message, and hope no one remembers the years of division and disinformation.
But come on, you don't get to spend years fueling resentment and then expect a calm voiceover and some drone shots to make it all go away.
But who cares? He lost the Prime Minister's race and is riding in the election, but the Conservatives are sending him to an easy win in safe Alberta for the bargain price of $1 million taxpayer dollars.
Because apparently if you lose an election in Canada, you just reboot it in the oil patch. Or as one Toronto Marathon Spectator's sign said so perfectly this weekend, don't worry if you lose, just run again in Alberta.
Yep, The riding includes Drumheller and the Badlands. Drumheller, the one we just promoted in one of our last videos. I was trying to say to Alberta, I love you, and I wanted to show dinosaurs. I didn't know the real fossils were the voters in this riding. It's home to wheat fields, dinosaur bones, and Nickelback.
Nickelback, the most hated band on earth, and somehow they just made it worse. We've defended them, yes. We said, they're Canadian, they're not that bad. But now, they're headlining a Make America Great Again tour with Kid Rock.
It's called Rock the Country, a 10-city southern U.S. Red Hat revival where Nickelback, Kid Rock, and a bunch of Confederate flag country acts celebrate freedom under the open sky.
Trump introduces the shows in a recording. Kid Rock performs next to American flags the size of oil tankers, and Nickelback is the only Canadian on the bill.
Chad Kruger, we're breaking up with you. You want to ride the Red Cap revival train with Kid Rock? Go right ahead, but don't expect Canadians to keep pretending Photograph was ironic.
Poilievre hasn't lived in Alberta for 20 years, but I guess he doesn't want to give up that cushy mansion and the title of Leader of the Opposition. And really, what are his qualifications? He's been a career politician since his 20s, which, by the way, is also the last time he lived in Alberta.
This is the hard right strategy. Lose the election, pretend it didn't count, and run again somewhere where you've barely stepped foot in for decades.
So to recap, Poilievre's new riding, home of Nickelback and a premier who bills luxury vacations to taxpayers. At this point, well, actually forget it. Florida's unhinged, but at least they own it. What's Alberta's excuse? Let's make one thing very clear. While we spent this episode calling out Trump, Poilievre, Smith, and all the enablers of dysfunction,
we're not calling out Americans, and we're definitely not calling out all Albertans either. There are millions of Americans resisting Trump every day, and there are thousands of Albertans pushing back against the Red Hat takeover. And we see you. Just this past weekend, hundreds of thousands of Americans were in the streets saying, "Not in our name."
Over 100,000 people marched in Washington, D.C. alone this May Day, part of a massive wave of resistance that spread across all 50 states. Workers, students, immigrants, union members, veterans, mothers, teachers, even Republican voters who've had enough.
They protested the administration's executive overreach. Musk's billion-dollar cuts to public services, immigration crackdowns, attack on civil rights, and the complete dismantling of democratic norms.
And yet, the mainstream media barely whispered a word. No breaking headlines, no roundtable panels, no "this just in." I guess hundreds of thousands of Americans standing up for democracy just isn't clicky enough.
Nope, you know what is? Truth Social posts, hard-right fan club memes, and anything to distract from the real problems the world is facing. Meanwhile, real people are out there risking their jobs, reputations, and safety to defend democracy before it slips away. AOC was in the crowd, and so was Bernie Sanders. They seem to be the only Democrats speaking out. Where are the rest?
And not surprisingly, arrests were made. Peaceful demonstrators were removed from campuses and silenced on sidewalks. In Philadelphia, 70 demonstrators were arrested after blocking a highway. But they weren't rioting, they weren't violent, they were marching in the spirit of Martin Luther King, the Montgomery bus boycott, and the Memphis sanitation strike, standing up for workers, immigrants, and democracy itself.
This is what peaceful resistance looks like, and when the powerful try to silence protests, that's when we all need to speak louder.
We're not going to pretend this is normal, because it's not. When peaceful protest gets punished, democracy is in danger.
And that should concern everyone, because when these people feel threatened, they don't argue the facts, they shut down the conversation, and they silence the critics.
We've seen it before in Germany, when protesting the regime meant disappearing. We saw it now in Russia, where citizens who spoke out against the war in Ukraine were jailed and beaten.
And now in America, the so-called land of the free, people are being arrested for holding signs and singing songs. It's not a slippery slope anymore. We're already sliding. Now, about that big meeting. Yep. Mark Carney is meeting with Donald Trump this week, but as of filming this, it hasn't happened yet.
So stay tuned because we'll be back with the breakdown, what was said, what was traded, and what it means for Canada's future.
And until then, remember, democracy isn't dead. Truth still matters, and decency, that's not a weakness, it's a strength.
We're Canadians. We face bigger bullies in this, and we don't back down.
So stay smart, stay proud, and stay loud.
And we'll see you next time.
And if you've subscribed, make sure to ring that bell because we're putting out a lot more videos each week, and hit all notifications because we put out polls and lots of questions all week long.